Today, we're honored to have the legendary saxophonist, composer, and educator Bobby Watson. With a career spanning decades, Bobby has released over 40 albums as a leader and appeared on more than 100 recordings. From his Grammy-nominated Tailor Made to his celebrated work with Smoke Sessions Records, his music is deeply rooted in jazz history. As former director of jazz studies at UMKC and a Kansas City Jazz Walk of Fame inductee, Bobby's contributions to jazz and education and performance are immense. So let's dive right into his incredible journey. So here he is. Bobby, good to see you.
Thank you, Abe. Good to be a part of this. Thank you for inviting me.
You know, the jazz world presents us with people who know people who know people. So when Eric Wyatt, the great saxophonist, said, you know, Bobby would be interested in speaking with you, I was so happy to hear.
Yeah, Eric's a dear friend of mine, and we've been knowing each other again for years, and seeing us each grow and move toward our different blessings. You know, so he's a good cat, man. We share a lot.
Well, you use the word blessings, and that's probably the best way you can say that you're grateful and thankful for what you've done.
Yeah.
A lot of jazz musicians are not so grateful, longing for more and more. Have you always been that way? Like when you were starting out, were you saying like, "Oh, I'm so excited to do this," or were you longing for more in the beginning, you think?
Well, when I started out, it was just about getting a gig and being able to work with someone. Like when I came to New York, fortunate enough to get with the Messengers, Art Blakey. That was a blessing, and I wanted to find blessings in my world. You can chase goals. You know, you have goals and you work toward those. But blessings always hit you from the rear. You know, blessings are a result of your intention and the path you're taking. You know, and you want to succeed, right? Because you're going after, success or sustainability, whatever. But blessings always hit you from behind. You never see them coming. You know, and so being with Art Blakey, I didn't see that coming because that wasn't my goal when I went to New York. I just wanted to be able to work, meet the cats, and be a part of the scene, you know. And then I ran into Art Blakey. It was all serendipity.
You were going out every night.
Yeah, I was going out every night. Yeah, me and Pam. And we sit outside a lot of the clubs. We had a spot out in the back of the Vanguard where we would sit and we could hear the music. We had another spot at Boomers where we could sit, me and my Pam, and we could hear the music without going inside. The Bottom Line, the Village Gate. We had little spots where we could sit next to a air vent or something, and we could hear the music there. And then the cats would see me and Pam and I sitting out there, and we we kind of got to know each other like that, and say, hey, blah blah blah. And so Billy Hart, Jabali was one of the first ones to take me in, and he would give us rides home after the night. You know, a very beautiful experience with a lot of love, and how the cats brought me in. You know.
When you talk about going out in New York every night to the clubs, from the outside looking in to the masses, they might, oh, he's just going out. But this is work ethic, going out every night, because networking and all comes into place.
Kansas and Kansas City, you don't live in New York to sit on your couch and watch TV every night. You know, if you want to do that, you move to Jersey. You know, but if you're gonna live in New York, you got to go be there with a mission. And my mission was to go out, got the Village Voice every week, so I knew what was coming up. You know, and I had some friends who were New Yorkers that I met when I was at the University of Miami, but they had a place there.
Well,
and so had, and then plus Hiram Bullock and all those cats from Miami came up around the same time. Phyllis Hyman and Gil Goldstein, like I said, for Hiram Bullock, me and Curtis and Carmen, and we all kind of had this migration. Jocko, he was in Miami and he came up and did that record. And he had everybody, all the cats on it, Hubert Laws and Herbie, and because we knew Jocko, but we knew it was special. But he went to New York, and that kind of opened our our dreams to what could be possible because we were part of the crew down there in Miami, and some of our crew started going north, and we're like, well, shoot, man, we can hang, you know, and they were having success, Gil Goldstein, Cliff Carter, you know, Mark Egan, Danny Gottlieb with Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny was down there in Miami. And he went to Boston with Gary Burton, and then all of a sudden, boom. And I know Pat Metheny before he went to New York because he's from Lee Summit, Missouri. And so I met Pat. He was doing bass on part of a gig and guitar on a part of a gig out this hotel, Ramada Inn. And I used to go
Yeah.
up there and try to sit in with the cats, them guys. Because me and Pat, I spent a night or two at his house when I first met him, and he gave me a lot of information. And his older brother Mike was in the army at that time. Mike Matheny, the trumpet player. So he was like telling me how much his big brother Mike had turned him on to jazz. So it's like it's kind of deep. I kind of backed into it, like.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask you when you were describing coming to New York, you used the word mission, which I've used that word when trying to talk to people like about what I'm been trying to do, like in my life, in the music world, guitar, blah blah blah. And some
Yeah,
people have like it almost when I use the word mission, like and I say I'm on a mission, like they almost looked at me like I was a little bit crazy. So it's I take pleasure in knowing that you use that word. But are you still on the mission today, or is it more
absolutely.
good?
With tinted with longevity and experience. The mission is still there, but it might take a hit here or there, boom, 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 some success, some nicks and cuts, but the mission never stops. You know, as long as you can heal, you just keep moving forward. Because that's what we're here for. I was able to live in New York, really cool. But while I was in New York, you're in the Big Apple, man. So it's like, what am I doing here every night? I'm going out. I'm going out every night. That's what I came to New York for. Go out every night, meet the cats, you know, show my gratitude and humility, but still, when it's time to blow, it's time to blow.
Did you meet people at that time who we just never heard from on the world stage of jazz that people just kind of faded into the background?
That's a good question. I mean,
I met a guy at Berkeley, a guitar player, my first semester. He was so brilliant, but he couldn't handle music college. He dropped out. I don't know whatever happened to him. I never knew his last name. But there's so many musicians out there now. But during your time, I'm kind of wondering if there's anyone who just they were only around for a little bit. We just net, but was incredible or something like that.
the first name that always comes out of my mouth, Abe, is Arthur Raines.
Oh, okay. There we go. Of course. Yeah. And of course.
I first met him when he was playing on the street, and we used to all play on the street back then. So there's a lot of musicians, Steve Coleman, Marvin Smitty Smith, and the Johnson brothers, Mark Johnson and his brother on bass. There were a lot of cats, George Braith, you have to be out there, Vincent Herring.
Hmm.
A lot of us used to have our spots in the city and play on the street. I don't know if I got off the point with the question.
No, no. You mentioned Arthur, and that led to
Yeah,
playing with. And
you know,
he was brilliant. There's just not too much information out there about him. That's all.
I was playing doing one of John Coltrane's movements on Love Supreme. And I was on my way to the store because I lived in that area. And I just stopped and went, what? We got to be good friends, He sounded like McCoy on piano. He's like George Benson on guitar. I mean, the
He
cat
was a
was just
beast.
one of the most talented people I've ever met. He's in the top five. you know, that were like just wow. But
My friend recorded a duo record with him.
oh, really? Drummer?
Charles Tellerant, the drummer.
Drummer, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned him so then people can, he's just the name that's not known. But you also mentioned Vincent. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the record, the three saxophone record with you, him, and Gary, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when you do a record with like that, I mean, I'm sure it's there's brotherhood and there's camaraderie, but is there still like with those guys and yourself, is there still just a like even if it's a tiny bit of competition? Like even if it's 1%,
And
2%,
we soloists, whether they want to admit it or not, are competitive by and it's a competitiveness with love.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they don't keep score, and at the end of the day, they ring the bell and then they raise one guy's hand up above the other. It's all subjective, but I think it's like, man, I just want to, I want them to respect me, you know? I respect them. That's my turn. I want y'all to respect me. And I hear what you're doing, and that inspires me. I'm like, a little bit, so it's like that,
Was that your idea or was that just something that was presented to you from the record label?
Oh no, that was Vincent Herring's idea.
Okay.
Vincent Herring put that all together on Smoke. And that was a wonderful, wonderful date. It was just being with Uncle Gary, and then I stayed at Vincent's house during that record date. So me and Vincent were hanging out all day. We go shopping and talk, play dominoes and whatnot. We was really enjoying each other's company. Vincent would cook, but that was a wonderful experience. And then Gary, my Uncle Gary, I've been, you know, into him since before I came to New York. So
I'll never forget the first time I heard him play live.
where was that?
Well, I saw he was playing with McCoy Tyner's group. I mean, I'm 37, so
Okay.
this is probably maybe I was like 21, 22, something like that. And I heard him with McCoy live, and I was like, and every solo was different. It was just
He's one of those poets, like
yes,
Charles McPherson, one of our living poets on the alto saxophone. They played. There's harmony, there's rhythm, there's melody, but then you take those three together and you try to become a poet.
well, I like that. I like that. I like that record because it's just I like when people do things that are unique, and whether it's a tribute or even just having the three horns. I just it just there's so many ways to exhaust ideas, but I just like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Vincent didn't want to just do a straight up, you know, you know. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but we wanted to add something to it in our own way. And I think that was really nice that we was able to do that. And it was a great time.
Are you listening to the those recordings like those songs like prior to doing it?
Oh no, I'd lived with that stuff, since I was in my 20s.
Yeah,
So it was just like, there it is. Now it's our time to interpret it our way.
got it. As far as younger players, I'd like to. Do you hear younger players now that really that floor you, who are have come up in the last couple years?
I don't want to mention anybody because I'm gonna leave somebody out. I mean, it's like, oh Lord. I mean, all my young nephews and nieces out there. I love you with all my heart. You guys are my heart. So if I mention some names, we only have so much time. So
Sure.
not all gonna come out. Okay. That's my disclaimer.
And I wanted to talk to you. Did you want to name some, or are we gonna? Well, we don't have to.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you about your position as the director of jazz studies as well, because I'm sure some institutions out there where the director, or maybe previous director, they didn't have the experience in the real world of being out there and doing it. So for you to be in that position is really a really special one. Did you find certain ways to bring that to the curriculum itself, like certain experiences you might have thought you had that could translate into the course's curriculum, so to speak?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I treated my ensembles as professional ensembles. So it wasn't like this is a CON 365 jazz ensemble 3 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know, this is your group and you guys have to make something happen. That's the first thing.
You
Second
tell
thing,
them that in the beginning, like from
oh
the
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But we don't play that. We didn't play that at UMKC. My big band was not 303J. You know, that was my band. So that's when I went into rehearsal. You were in my band, and we're going to act as professionals. We have an hour and a half to do this. So focus. This for an hour and a half right now, you're a musician. Now, I don't know what you're doing the rest of the day, but when you come in here for an hour and a half, you are a jazz musician and you are blessed. So give it all you got. Because once you walk out of here, you're just part of the human race. You're a brother, you're a neighbor, but when you're in here, you're a jazz musician. That's special for an hour and a half. And I don't care what you do for the rest of the day, but in here, we give it our all, and you're here for a reason. And I try to build the repertoire around the strengths and weaknesses of my bands. That was another thing. And
Just like in real life, right?
that's what it was, real life.
Yeah.
I mean,
The real world,
uh,
whatever you want to call it.
and
Yeah.
me and Pam say, I live in Kansas City, right? But I, I left New York, but I didn't quit New York.
I
You
mean, I live
understand?
in New Jersey, but I still have the New York energy, you know?
That's what I'm saying. A lot of cats I've seen over the years, musicians, they would come to New York and then all of a sudden they leave and live somewhere else, but they weren't connected or engaged with New York. So I'm still engaged with New York. I talk to my friends up in New York. I left, I left New York, but I didn't quit it. I just live in Kansas City. And when people come into my house here in Kansas City with Pam and myself, you're in New York.
Yeah.
In my house, you're in New York. You know, because we've never quit New York, but we had to move somewhere else. And I think that's the thing that's important that I
Oh, I understand. I understand. I lived in New York for about 6 months, and I was like, if I don't go back to Jersey, this is not going to be good. I'm going to go broke.
no, you got that. It's like you bring that mentality to the students, circling back around about what you asked me about teaching at UMKC. It's basically just being myself and which was not without its difficulty sometimes with the faculty, but I learned how to communicate in academia using their language and still, you know,
Like
and get
sort of, yeah, operating in the you mean like operating in the behind the
yeah,
scenes sort of.
yeah. Because in academia, it's all about the students.
Right.
It might be something that you need fixing, right? I want this to be fixed. But if you frame it about the students and you go to administration, you say, listen, this is just the students are being underserved. We need to get this fixed. Otherwise, the students can't get their full experience, you know, because, their parents are paying the money or whatever. And so at the end of the day, if the students aren't happy, because we're there to serve the students, they pay our they pay our salary. So that's the thing about it. Once I learned how to frame my arguments and demands in favor of the students, it wasn't about me anymore. That's the biggest thing I learned when I went back to academia. It's not about me. It's about the students. Because growing up, coming to New York, practicing, traveling with other people, it was kind of about me. And when I land at a destination, people would pick me up They would take me to my hotel. They'd take me to dinner. They took, it's about me, 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 me. You get to this, you get to this, you get to the sound check, and it's like, it's about me. Shut up. Where's my mic, right?
Yeah.
But when you get to academia, it's about the students. My first concert, I was setting up, and I'm like, I need somebody. Where's my mic stand? Where are my music stands? And they said, "Oh, Bobby, you're the head of the department. Let me go get the music stands." So that turned me on the other side. And also when I had special guests, some special guests were more demanding than others. And they were all of my guests I brought in were my friends.
Well, how often would you get to bring
And
guests? Like once once a semester, twice a semester, something like that?
twice a year,
Okay.
sometimes 3 times a year. Yeah. And airplane wasn't that expensive then, and I had a budget. I had a budget, discretionary fund that I could work with. So I learned a lot about that side. It, I was used to being a guest, and I had to learn how to be a host.
Yeah. Do
That's
you think
most
you
of
left your mark in the school? Like when you like that they're still almost like it's your methodology. It's the
Oh, so already the people, my young ones, they got kids. Some of them, blah blah blah. But they're pillars of the Kansas City scene. A lot of them, and they've gone on. Some of them live overseas. Herman Mahari, trumpet player. He lives in Paris. He's one of mine. He's on that record, Check Cashing Day with me. Herman Mahari. Yeah, his people are from Africa, but he's one that he's living in Paris, traveling all over Japan, you name it. South America. And Dominique Sanders, bass player out in LA. He's doing stuff with all the big rappers, Robert Glasper and all the nine. Plays bass, and he was one of mine. There's several. I hate to mention name because I know I'll leave something out, but
I said
there's
I should like probably stop mentioning names when people ask me questions like that. But
yeah. I mean, if it comes out naturally, I'll do it.
sure.
But I understand where you're coming from.
So let's talk a little bit about Kansas City. Do you go out and check out the cats in Kansas City these days? Is there is the scene healthy? Where there's something you'd like to see more of there that's not there?
I go out depending on who's playing on what night, and if they have Monday night jam sessions, and if they got some interesting young cats and older cats playing that night, hosting a session, I'll go down. There's been times when I went like 2 Mondays in a row, 3 Mondays in a row for 2 months. It's like it's just like certain cats in the Kansas City area. They bring a certain magic that inspires me because it is here. You know, that's what I learned when I got with art that the magic is everywhere in every city. There's people. You don't have to live in New York, but some people are just they're blessed with this magic, and New York just helps it grow. But there's magic everywhere, so we have it here in Kansas City, and I wish we would have bring back our international jazz festival. We used to have one for many years.
Oh,
When I
really?
was here. Oh yeah.
And they're not doing it right now.
Mm-mm. Some of it was because of the weather, because our major festival, I think, what was it called? Kansas City International Jazz Festival. Anyway, they did it in July, and it's just like too hot. And so a lot of the old folks, they couldn't come out, they get heat stroke. So it was basically, if they would just move it to September, but then September, you know, September you got Detroit, you got Chicago, you got all the things bird around bird. So, you know, weather brought, if they can move it to the spring or something, early June, maybe we deserve one.
Were you involved with the festival like in the on the board when it was going
I
on?
was one time, yes, I was. When I first got back, I jumped on as many boards as I could, and then I found that a lot of them were a waste of time.
How so? Like just we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this, but they don't do anything. So what's the
the table, and then you start listening, and you start to add I started to add my 2 cents. Not that they have to do what I'm saying, but I was trying to say, listen, I this person can help you. This person can help you. You know, it's not about me getting a gig right now with with the festival. I just think that things that I've seen in my short life maybe can help, and fell on deaf ears. So I
Yeah, that I find that so annoying. I really like stuff like that, but it's good to know. I mean, I'm not saying it's good to know, but like it's interesting to hear that it happens to players of your stature. No matter how established you get, like it's still gonna. There are these things that are still very annoying.
yeah, I guess I'm not on that level yet. You know,
No,
so
you're on the level. They just don't know what they're doing. That's all.
Google will help. You know,
Exactly.
hey man, go Google. You know.
No, that would be wonderful to definitely bring it back, and I'm sure you would, certainly do some new things with it. Are you coming to the East Coast in the next couple months, anything like that on the books or not?
Nothing
Not
yeah, in the next couple months. We have some things that are in development, you know, like Birdland, Blue Note, Lincoln Center, Smoke, whatever. You know, we're just like kind of figuring it out. There's a new club I heard downtown. It's got a Japanese name, and they're doing their grand opening in March, I heard. And it was trying to get me up there for a soft opening, but it just didn't work out in the weather.
sure,
But I'm just kind of figuring it out. We got some other gigs around New York,
right?
the north and the south, but we need an anchor gig so to make it all worthwhile. You know, it's like a pie when you book a tour. You know,
Yeah,
this
I
one
mean,
slice goes to this slice. You're gonna slice it up and make sure that you get most of it. You know.
yeah. But I'm sure you've had to do some of those tours where it's like this doesn't make any sense, but we have no control of what the date is, like, and where they're putting us on this time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But
And it's just you're just waiting. Yeah, I mean, but that's the part of it that
that's the part. You know, I'm blessed to be able to wait.
yeah, just wait, right?
A lot of people are back home, you know, twiddling their thumbs on that. But I'm over here. Things aren't really going right, but God dog it, I am blessed just to be here in this situation.
No,
It's not
yeah.
art, art. You just, you're there, and other people aren't.
Is that where you picked up your optimism, or have you always been that way?
I've always been an optimist, but I had it confirmed by meeting Art Blakey
Sure.
and other cats around his generation, and they laid that optimism and wisdom on me. And I saw that, they play with Bird, a lot of them, and that was the closest I could get, to Bird, was people that actually met him and played with him. So I was able to get at least, second. I was able to shake the hand of the people that shook the hand with Bird. That was the close. That was the second handshake, or first handshake. First
Yeah,
handshake.
but it's all just energy at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, right now it's a lot of technique. Because, like you said, certain players I admire for their technique, certain players I admire for their lyricism and rhythm. See, so it's like I don't diss this person because he plays a lot of notes, but it's just like, okay, that might not be the thing I listen to, but good, good. Then you get over here, and I like that better. You see what I'm saying? This is a
Well,
lot.
if you want to hear the real sax playing, you'll do it yourself. Ah, no, we're making the music we want to make. So, Bobby, I just want to say thank you so much for doing. You're always welcome back anytime to speak, and it's been so great to connect with you and hear more of your story. And I'm sure there's much more to hear, which will be in the next part, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. I would love to do part two.
I keep the audience waiting. You have to keep the audience wanting more. That's what people
But
don't know.
I think I came in over prepared. I had all these notes. I had all these notes I was gonna get to, you
No,
know.
that's fine. That's fine. That's the music, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful, man. Uh,
Thank you.
I hope to meet you in person. Where are you based out of?
Jersey, Jersey.
Okay, so next time I'm in New York, we got to stay in touch. And you sent, I got your email now.
Yeah. So I mean, when you're in New York, I'll definitely come to hear you play.